What's up, everybody? We're back. It's been a couple weeks. Just life happens and shit, so took a week off. Um, Not getting too much into it. Yeah, we kind of needed some time to do our thing, so we went out and bought new guitars, and you'll see them if you go on our Facebook. There's pictures of them, or there's a picture of them.
And this is the first one I've gotten in quite some time. So I think I bought that Les Paul off you about 4 years ago.
Been a while, yeah.
So yeah, and I'm really excited about it. I've not played on a guitar that has that good of frets on it, like not pitted or anything in a long time.
Brand new. So, all right, let's start. We're doing Stone Temple Pilots Core, which I've been listening to. That's a fucking good album. That's a really good album.
Yeah, I really like it. A lot of the stuff on here, because I gave it a good listen through yesterday just to kind of refresh my memory on it. A lot of the stuff on here, with the exception of probably the one I'm going to do, and I think the one you're going to do, a lot of it holds up today. Like, it could have come out yesterday and you would never know the difference.
Yeah, so let's see. It was released on September 29th, 1992, and it doesn't sound like it's that old of an album. Like, when you listen to it, like the recording quality of it's really good, and it doesn't sound like it's more than, it doesn't sound like it's 30 years old. 32 years old at this point.
Right, and that's the cool thing too, is just listening to this album. Dean DeLeo's guitar tone is it good for 1992, especially.
Produced and mixed by Brendan O'Brien,
which he's legendary in the field. He's done recordings with basically all the who's who in the 90s. Yep. He had something to do with it.
Mastered by Tom Baker, engineered by Nick Didia.
Yeah, Nick Didia. Yeah, and he's legendary. I mean, again.
And then second engineer, Dick. His name is Dick Kaneshiro.
Yeah,
Kaneshiro. That sounds Japanese as fuck. It's probably not, though. It's probably fucking something else. And this album's got a lot of their hits on it. So let's start it. First song is Dead and Bloated, which the first time I heard this song wasn't even really that long ago, and I didn't realize it was them. Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I didn't know this was them until recently, like within the last couple years. And the first time I remember hearing this song was 2016, probably. Maybe even before that, 2013.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of it too, because
I wasn't a big 90s fan until the last 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I'm guilty of it too, because when I was listening to this the other day, I forgot that this was on this album, and I forgot that it was Stone Temple Pilots.
This album, it's got all their hits. It's got this, Creep, it's got, what else?
Well, Sex Type Thing,
Sex
Wicked
Type
Garden.
Thing, Plush. Yeah, this is a fucking amazing album. It's only, it only doesn't have, 3 or 4 of their hits.
Yeah, because I was considering doing Purple for this album.
Yeah.
But, I mean, realistically speaking, the song that I would have probably done was Interstate Love Song, which has been played to death, especially on modern movies and things. And then I think the only other one anybody knows is Vaseline.
Yeah. Yeah, this album was really good. I didn't really think about it until, I listened to it the first time through, and Casey put it the best, because I messaged him, because I wasn't sure what song I wanted to do, and he said do either Wicked Garden or Cracker Man, which I'm going to end up doing Cracker Man.
Cracker Man? Yeah, because I picked Wicked
And
Garden.
I was like, well, Tim picked Wicked. I was going to do Sex Type Thing, but I was like, because that's what he said. He's like, you could do Sex Type Thing, but that's kind of obvious. He's like, that's kind of obvious. So I was like, I was kind of leaning towards Cracker Man anyway. And then he was like, that's a great album to just drive. He's like, it's a really good, just get in the car and go. Just and it really is. I listened to it yesterday on my way home from work, or yesterday or the day before on my way home from work, and it was just such a nice day out, and the sun beating down. There's a little wind, and then this was just kind of a nice soundtrack for just being in the car and driving, just kind of carefree,
And in general, I would say this band, that's what they really shine at. They were one of the heavier of and I can't lump them into grunge, because I just can't. Like, these guys, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, I can't really say that they were part of the grunge movement.
Yeah.
But they always get lumped in. But supposing you want to put them in that category, these guys, Alice in Chains and Soundgarden, I would say all three of them were pretty heavy. Mm-hmm. But these guys, I think they were just good old-fashioned hard rock.
Yeah, these guys were good. And the only thing that I was kind of not disappointed, but I didn't realize that there's like no solos at all. There's no guitars. The only one that I had noticed was on Cracker Man.
Yeah. God, when did hair metal kind of die out completely? Like 91, 92?
Yeah, that might even been before that. I don't know.
But I think that's kind of a side effect of that is the fact that they were kind of moving as far away from that style as they could. Mm-hmm. So guitar solos had to go.
Yeah, that was kind of the point in the 90s, be simplistic.
Yeah. What I really enjoy about this group, too, is they weren't afraid to, take some huge chord extensions and put them on. Wicked Garden, even the one I'm working on. Yeah, there's one chord in there, and I kept missing it because I'm trying to do this one by ear as much as I possibly can. And I kept missing it because I'm just playing a power chord thinking that's what he's doing. But in reality, no, he's playing this real big 7th chord, and I'm like, So it's tough to go from power chords to that.
Yeah, this is going to be another one, I think, where the music portion, it's a little boring. Because especially like the song I'm doing, it's the same 4 chords, the same riff, the whole song. The entire song is the same drum beat for the most part. And it's another one of those bands where the vocals drive the songs. So, I don't know. I'm not saying that their music's boring, but, like, by itself, I think the music's going to be a little bit boring. But I'll try to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, same here.
We're not singers. So
no.
The solo in Cracker Man's kind of weird. It's like just all on random notes.
Yeah.
So I might try to do something different with that. Well, I'm probably going to try to do something different with that. Something a little bit more, not technical per se, just something more busy.
Right.
This is a fucking great song. I love the fucking riff in this song, that intro riff.
And I want to say this was the lead single off the album, so this is...
I'm pretty sure. It was either that or Plush. Probably Plush.
Yeah. Actually, now you mention, I think Plush was the lead single, and then this was second. But, I mean, everybody knows these two songs.
Yeah, this is a great song. And I didn't realize that this was on this album. Like, all of their songs are on this album. It's so good.
Yeah, everybody name drops Purple, but it's... There's only a couple of hits off that album. I mean...
What's on Purple?
Interstate Love Song and Vaseline.
Okay.
I think that's about it. And then everything else... I hate using the word filler with a lot of bands, but that's just what it sounds like to me on that album. It's just a lot of filler.
Don't eat me alive about all this, like... I guess you can call it ignorance. I wasn't a big fan of 90s rock in general until recently, so I know I'm a little bit slow to the game, or late to the game, but like this stuff's new to me, and that's why I think it's cool. That's like not new. Like it's always been there, and I've always heard it, but this is the first time that I'm like really listening to it.
Yeah, this song just
Wicked Garden's good.
I love this
song. This was another one. Like there were so many songs that I heard off this album, and I was like, I didn't even know this was them. There was a lot of songs that I didn't realize that they did. This was one of them. I've heard this song a bunch of times before, but I didn't realize it was them.
Well, that's how it was too, because I forgot. And this is what made me want to pick this album. It just came on YouTube Music one day when I was in the car waiting to go in. And I was like, this is STP, really?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So I was sitting and jamming to it and everything, and what it is, the reason I like this song is because I'm a real big fan of, and I play a lot of big open string chords, and there's a ton of them in this song. In fact, it drives the whole song. And then the layered guitars, I come to find out there's one guitar that's kind of driving the rhythm, and then there's another one in the background that's just playing big, wide open chords. And I'm kind of excited to get them layered together because it's going to sound cool. But then there's also like, it comes into the chorus part and it's just straight hard rock. So I don't know, like there's a lot to offer in this song. I think it falls flat because there's really, like, that's the only part of it.
This song's got a lot more movement than a lot of the other songs on this album.
Yeah, I just wish that they had put a solo section in, or some kind of other melodies.
Easily can be done. Yeah, this song is really good. Like right there, right where it cuts, you can easily come in with like a just some crazy fucking shred solo.
And I was thinking about that, like doing something like that, or extending, because the song's relatively short. It's barely over 4 minutes. So I was thinking of extending it a little bit and just maybe putting like one section of like this part, the verse line, and then the chorus line, just one little short section, just to put a solo section over it.
Yeah,
I like the tiny little.
Those little
like those little scrapes he'll put in, or like the slides he'll put in. And
I like right at the end how he hits those high, like ding, like there's like that chimey like up there.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
And then on top of that, at the very end, I mean, we'll get to it in a minute, but Just the fact that he uses a slide, but he uses it very rarely throughout the song. Like, he's not, like, overdoing it or anything.
Yeah, you're going to have to figure that out.
Oh, it's not hard. I've done it.
I mean, you're going to have to get a slide or something.
I have one.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I got one.
Nice.
This was the part.
This was the part that I recognized.
Yeah.
I was like, I know it because of that.
It just goes on too long. And that's actually underneath what he's doing there. That's that chord I'm talking about. He's doing this huge... Stone Temple Pilots eventually became known for this, where they just use really obscure kind of chords. Mm-hmm. If you listen to Interstate Love Song, everybody always plays it with power chords all the way down during the verse. And it's not. It's sevenths. It's diminished. It's really weird. But I don't know. Like, that's kind of why I appreciate Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah. Yeah, they're cool. I'm glad that... I was excited when you said you wanted to do this album because this was one of those bands that they just kind of I just forgot about. Yeah. Like I've always liked Scott Weiland as a singer. I liked him in Velvet Revolver. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
But I've never really sat down and listened to Stone Temple Pilots. And like I said, I've known a bunch of their songs, but again, I didn't realize it was them or.
Well, I think a lot of
something
that too,
like that.
A lot of that, I think, is because, in my opinion, Scott Weiland has a really chameleon-like voice. Mm-hmm. Like, he sounds different song to song, album
he
to
really
album.
Does. And it doesn't even sound like him in Velvet Revolver. Like, no. Listening to this, like, to me, Scott Weiland's voice is like Slither and Fall to Pieces. It's not this, even though I know this is his debut as a singer or whatever. Right. But like it's weird listening to this and like that's no fucking way that's the same guy. But it is. It's crazy. So, I almost thought about doing this song. This song's cool too, Sin.
Yeah.
I don't know. There were so many songs. It was hard for me to pick. That's why I ended up messaging Casey and like asked him what song I should do. And then he was like, "This is one of his start to finish albums," is what he told me. And he was like, "Yeah," he was just like, either do Wicked Garden or Cracker Man. And I was like, all right. I was leaning towards Cracker Man anyway. So
Casey's really cool though because he's got a wide range palette of musical taste.
If you're watching, I'm still waiting for that fucking list. He's got stuff in mind for us to listen to, and like this other kid I work with now has stuff in mind that he's told me that, because the only one that this kid I work with told me is he told me to listen to Rammstein.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's another band that like I know a few of their songs, but I've never listened to them other than like Du Hast, and like their newest album wasn't too bad. I listened to it a little bit. I think the '90s were so special because like there was just everything. It was a like turning point, but it was like everything kind of was out at the same time for a little bit too, like in the early '90s.
There truly was something for everybody in the '90s. I mean, growing up, I was around for the majority of it, and because I was born in the late or mid '80s, but even then, you don't really appreciate or understand music, I would say, until you're like 9-10 years old. Mm-hmm. You'll listen to it, but you won't understand anything until about that age. But see, by then, that's when these kind of bands were getting real big, 94, 95. So, and then by then, you had everything, like anything on the spectrum of hard rock, heavy metal was out there. So you really had something for everybody out there.
But yeah, and then around the same time, like you said, we had, like Pantera, we had stuff like this, but then we also had like Gin Blossoms and like that kind of rock, like that. I don't know what they call that, but like butt rock, I guess they call it. Which it's got a place in music, but
it does.
And it's nice to listen to every now and then, just a little bit change of pace. But then you also had those bands that were kind of like on the verge between that and grunge, like Collective Soul.
Yeah.
And
who's this one I'm thinking of in particular?
There was Tonic. There were so many good rock bands like Goo Goo Dolls. Man, there were a lot. I listened to them the other day on the way home from work. Yeah, that Boy Named Goo. That's a good album.
That's a great album. But then after that, when they had that Dizzy Up the Girl album, it was so weird because then they went from being like a good hard rock band to 90s pop. Yeah. Like, it was just weird.
Yeah, specifically their song Long Way Down. And I think they had two different singers in that album.
They might have, because I know the rhythm guitar player did an awful lot of backing vocals.
Yeah, I forgot there's a solo in this song, too. Yeah, and it's long, too.
Dean DeLeo, too, he's very underrated in that respect, too. He doesn't play the flashiest solos ever, but what he does play serves the song very well, and it's something that I don't mean to use the word safe, but I don't know any other word to describe it.
It fits.
Yeah,
it's very fitting. I don't know. I didn't do much research because I've just been too goddamn busy. But I don't know what kind of guitars and stuff they use either. I imagine they probably use like Les Pauls. Maybe, I don't know, 90s, probably like maybe ESPs, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I think on this album he was strictly Gibson guitars. I want to say it was mostly Les Pauls.
Yeah, he had a cool sound. It was big, but it was thin, but it was heavy, but it was like not that heavy. Like it was cool. I wonder what amps they used. I imagine probably Marshalls.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, that was pretty commonplace for a lot of the alternative rock bands in the 90s was to go with something
again
plexi.
Safe. Yeah.
But Robert DeLeo, though, is he an outstanding bass player. I mean, if you can isolate or find isolated tracks of just the bass in these Stone Temple Pilot albums, he's all over the place on that thing. But you don't really hear it, and it's not so obtrusive when you're listening to the band as a whole. But without it, it would miss all that movement, and you wouldn't get the same effect otherwise.
Okay, so just a quick search. He used, as far as amps go, he used a few AC30s, Vox AC30s with a bunch of pedals. He used a VHT Classic Power Amp into a Marshall 1968 cab with V30s. And another with V75s. That's crazy too. Like that tone, the V30s in a Marshall 1968. That's such a fucking classic tone, and people mostly associate that with like metalcore. But it went all the way back to probably even before this. People were using those back in the fucking 60s. That's why it got its name, 1968. Right.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but he's kind of going for more of like a British rounded kind of tone, but with an American
I'm guessing
hard
so.
cabinet.
Yeah. Well, that's a British cab. Marshall.
Oh, it is a British cab. Okay.
Marshall, yeah.
Oh, duh. Which is really interesting because when I hear this, because I don't know why, but the first band that comes to mind when I hear Vox and V30 is Queen, and it doesn't sound like that to me.
This definitely doesn't sound like a Vox. Because Voxes, especially AC30s, they had that really kind of boxy tone.
Right.
But he's running them through Marshall 1968s with V30s.
Okay.
So that it gives it that bigger, and then the V30s kind of they kind of make it sound a little bit tighter. And I don't know what kind of pedal. It just said with a bunch of pedals. It didn't say what. I imagine it sounds like he's using like a chorus. I'm sure he's using some kind of boost.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And that boost in particular might be a TS9, but I know a lot of them were using MXR back then.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But yeah, the was the
VHT,
the speakers.
Oh, vintage 30s, those are Celestians, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really the names and stuff I'm not so good with now, but just since doing this project, I'm getting better about learning about equipment and stuff. They're so distinctive, and I love the sound of them. Like they have that sick fucking sound, and then I'm really appreciating the difference between the push of air as opposed to that digital kind of direct input sound. Like, I don't know, like I'm just kind of learning to appreciate that kind of thing more.
Yeah, I've been miking my amp a lot more. You know, on Creep, this is a great song too.
And this was another one where I didn't realize it was Stone Temple Pilots.
This was one, and fucking hang me, because I know that people are gonna. I always thought this was Nirvana. He sounds like Kurt Cobain.
Right, and it's easy to make that connection because, I mean, some bands... Actually, I would say there's some songs on each album back then where they crossed over to different... You know, like, it could have been any of them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Like, it was such a weird time, and it was a cool time, though. I mean, I really envy those of you guys who weren't around in, like, 92, 93 to understand, like, that could understand your surroundings. Like, when I first heard this, I didn't hear this particular song until years later.
Until the part where it gets heavy, I always thought the song was Nirvana.
Yeah.
And then I remember hearing this, and I was like, well, this doesn't sound like Nirvana.
Right.
But, like, the acoustic and just the way he sings, like, it just screams Nirvana. Like,
it does.
His voice, he sounded just like Kurt Cobain in the beginning.
Because, I mean, with this group, and that's another testament to Scott Weiland with his chameleon-like voice. He does not sound like him on this song. And it's easy to sit here and go, okay, well, this is somebody else. And fact of the matter is, I think the entire band does not sound like Soundgarden here. Yeah. Or, I'm sorry, Stone Temple Pilots here. I don't know. Like, it's just, this is probably one of my more favorite songs of theirs just for that reason. And it's a lot more introspective sounding. Yeah.
Soundgarden was the band that got me into this genre. I like Soundgarden a lot, especially what's their one album?
Super Unknown.
Is Super Unknown,
or is it Bad Motor Finger the one?
I think it's Super Unknown.
Yeah,
the one with like Rusty Cage.
Oh, that's Bad Motorfinger.
Bad Motorfinger, yeah.
That's
so
a good
was
one.
that one. Both of those albums are really good. My first exposure to that was like that Road Rash game.
Oh yeah,
and like half the soundtrack was that album.
Yeah,
or like sound. I remember Rusty Cage was on there.
Outshine.
Yeah, that's. Oh, I love that song.
That
too.
song's awesome. This song though, I don't know why I'm getting the vibe of it, but this is just reminding me of Fell on Black Days. Like just, it's been in my mind the entire time the song's been on.
Yeah, yeah. I always thought this song was Nirvana.
Yeah.
Maybe it was this song. I think it was. Oh, it was this song I wanted to do.
Oh, Piece of Pie.
Piece of Pie. The song's heavy as shit.
Yeah, it is. They have a little bit of everything on this album. It's really weird. I know we've said that a few times on a few of these videos, but this one truly, honestly, has something for everybody on it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great album. I highly recommend it. This is definitely going in my... it's going to end up in my super mix. I've listened to this album a lot since the last couple weeks. It's fucking good. It's really good.
It's really, you know, and it's...
This sounds more like Velvet Revolver.
Scott I think
Weiland.
so.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because, like, with this band, or I'm sorry, with this album, it does stand the test of time. Like, it's just, like we said at the top of the video, it's 1992 this hit, and here we are in 2024, and we're still listening to it.
And it still sounds good. Like, the quality of it is truly amazing. Like,
this era where people were using DAT tape or they were still using analog, I think that's when, well, obviously it was when it reached its absolute peak, because then it was over. And then everybody was using digital medium. But I don't know. Like, I can't even recall if this ever came out on LP at the time. I want to say it went straight to cassette and CD.
I have no idea. This came out on record.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I was looking this up because I wanted to buy it, but there weren't any. They re-released it not too long ago on vinyl, but you can't find them. Like, as soon as they're on sale, they're sold out.
Well, again, that's just how good this album is. I mean, it's incredible. And with the revival, I don't know how much longer the 90s revival is going to go on now. That
I think it's over.
Yeah.
I think it's been over. I don't think it lasted for very long. Because really the only band I can think of that did it was Red Sun Rising. I remember hearing them for the first time, and it was probably around the time that album came out. I was working for a lawn care company. I'm not going to say the name because copyright and all that shit.
Yeah.
But I was working for a lawn care company, and I spent most of my day driving around from stop to stop up in Madison.
Okay.
So I would listen to JJO 94.1 all the time.
Yeah, and they were really good back then.
They used to do I can't remember what they called it, but they would have bands come in and play like a live acoustic set.
Okay.
Or whatever. And Red Sun Rising came on there one time, and dude was sick. And he still sounded exactly like the fucking record. Like, that guy is an incredible singer.
Along that line, though, I mean, that's kind of the stuff. I was kind of getting back into, like, 90s-esque kind of stuff at the time.
Yeah.
I was really into, like, the really heavy progressive stuff right before that. Like, I was kind of starting to get into Opeth and all that. But then I very quickly, shortly went back to listening to other stuff.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's just... It was a little inaccessible to me.
I mean, you could hear like the 90s influence in music around that time, like in the mid 2010s or 2012 to 2018, I would say. But I think really the only band that tried to bring the 90s sound fucking back was them.
Yeah, I think so.
And
and they nailed
Plush,
it.
This song, this is their fucking huge hit.
Yeah,
everybody fucking knows Plush. Even if you don't know the name of the song, if you don't know who it is, everybody knows this song.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that a lot of the time people don't know the name of this song, or if they do know the name of the song, they don't realize it's STP.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, his voice is so good. I love that he has like it's like a natural like gravelly voice.
Yeah.
But I don't think he talked like that, did he?
Not really. I mean, I think he had a very similar voice to you and I.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I think he's from Texas. I don't think the rest of them are. But
I was going to say, where are they from?
Yeah.
I didn't even look that up.
It was interesting watching some interviews of him because it sounds like he's got a similar accent to us that we do.
Oh, they were formed in San Diego.
Okay.
In 1989. Oh, wow, here's something I didn't know. So the band's lineup remained unchanged until the firing of Weiland in 2013. Vocalist Chester Bennington joined the band in May.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I was going to make mention of that. Yeah, Bennington was in it for, I think, one album they did, and then unfortunately and sadly he passed away.
Yeah, and then Scott Weiland died not too long after him. So Bennington, Whelan, Chris Cornell. They all died right around the same.
Right
It was
around
like
the
in a
same
matter
time.
of a couple of years they all died. There'll never be another Chester. There's never going to be another Scott Whelan. There's never going to be another Chris Cornell.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Cornell, I mean, I could talk for days about that guy.
I thought these songs were weird too, like Wet My Bed. What was the other one? It was like a minute long.
Yeah, they had a couple.
They were kind of
them
weird.
like
This
that
one's
on
really
here.
weird.
But see, that's the cool thing too about a band like this. I mean, they're so serious in a lot of their other songs, and they still have time for some comedy.
That's kind of some Cracker, man. This
Yep.
song's funny. Or funny. This is it's a funny title. It's a good song. But I was gonna say it's funny. They did that with those two like minute and a half long songs, and like that's something that Chiodos would do.
Right.
And we did a video on Chiodos a while ago too, and then we kind of talked about it then. But there's not a whole lot of bands that do that, where they just
No.
put a couple like minute and a half, like let your ears take a break kind of thing.
Right.
And this song's this shit, Cracker, man.
Yeah, I mean,
It's so driving, and like I said, the music's very simple. It's the same like the whole song.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, I'm gonna have to throw some shit in here just to make it a little bit, because like I said, we're not singers, and I'm not gonna even attempt to
No.
sing like Scott Whelan.
no, I mean, if I did, it's gonna make your ears bleed, so we're not doing it.
But I might throw some shit in here. I'm not gonna play like the vocal lines or anything with that guitar, but I'm gonna try to throw something in there to.
Yeah, I mean, like even in my case, I'm thinking of just something that Pearl Jam, or God damn it, I keep doing this, something that Stone Temple Pilots, to pay homage, or something that, will honor them a little bit to some degree.
Yeah, this is just it's such a good song. You just sit and listen to it. This whole album, it's good to jam to. It's good for background noise. It's good to sing along to. It's good to drive in the car to.
I think so.
It's just a great album, front to back.
And I would say too, in my opinion, this is the one song on this album that actually sounds 90s. Like the rest of the stuff sounds timeless as
kind of
hell.
agree.
This is the only one where I think you could listen to it and go, okay, well that's 90s as fuck. But at the same time, though, it's not. I say that,
I
but
was
it doesn't
listening
sound
to
dated.
it, and I was like, I don't know though, because like this, it sounds a lot to me like again, fucking Hang Me, but I can hear Creed, I can hear like Godsmack,
Yeah.
huge in this shit.
Well, and I'm pretty sure those bands you just mentioned, they were, and I guarantee you they were influenced by this group too. So I mean,
And say what you want about fucking Creed, they were a good band.
I agree.
Their singer, fuck him. Otherwise, I thought Creed was a good band. Fucking what's his name? Mark Tremonti.
Yeah,
That
Tremonti's
guy's
amazing.
He's fucking awesome.
and again, I mean, talk about untapped potential, because you listen to his solo stuff. That guy can fucking
He's
play.
a busy guy too, because
Yeah.
he does. I think Creed is back together. They're working on an album and they're touring, and he's still doing his stuff with his solo project. I want to say he's doing stuff with Miles Kennedy,
Okay.
or unless I might be wrong there. But yeah, he's a busy
Yeah.
motherfucker.
But even so, I mean, he's an outstanding guitar player, and talk about untapped potential in a band, because you do not hear it on Creed. I mean, it's there, like in some respect, he does do some solos and stuff, but not to the extent he does in other projects.
Yeah, yeah. But so like I think that's what kind of makes STP a little bit more timeless, because like I feel like as far as like that like 2000s era like radio rock goes, I feel like they were more influential
Like,
to that. And people took a lot more inspiration from them.
Yeah, I can see that. And
Not so much like the Soundgarden and Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains, they were a little bit more metal, I would say, than.
I would say they were the most metal out of all
Yeah.
those alternative bands, and then these guys, I think, run in second. I mean, I'm not even gonna say it was a close second, but
I don't know, man. Soundgarden,
they were heavy as fuck too.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what
Black
I'm
Hole
saying.
Sun, I know that's like their huge hit, whatever, but that song was pretty fucking
Yeah, it
metal.
was.
Like it was dark, and it had, it just had it.
But I would say that that's why I keep getting Soundgarden and STP mixed
Yeah.
up in this video, because you could. I mean, like just the degree of how heavy they were, I think is pretty similar. STP maybe a little less. Like I think they were more on the 70s hard rock kind of side, whereas I do think that Soundgarden was around mid 80s, I want to say, is when they started.
I'm not sure.
So I think they might have been influenced a little more by the metal scene.
I mean, these guys started, it said 1989.
Right.
So
I think that these guys were a little bit more genuinely entrenched in the 90s and trying to, get that kind of sound.
yeah, I think this is the last song. This is a deluxe edition. We're not going to listen to all the bonus tracks and demos and live shit. I think this is the last song on the album.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember right, it was.
Music to me is an escape. It's an escape from my everyday bullshit, and this was a really good one because it like I said, like Casey said, it's a good album to listen to in the car.
Yeah.
And those are like the two things that I do to kind of get away from my daily bullshit is drive and listen to music. And these go hand in hand together.
Right. And then again, I mean, it's this album in particular, it's one of those where it's a pleasure to come back to it. You know, it's
I was really happy to listen to this one. It was a fucking great record.
I mean, it's like not a one of these songs, you know, it doesn't wear on me. It's just you forget that it's there. I mean, and that's the shitty thing is like, you know, sometimes great music like this, you just forget about it. You know, you get sidetracked with something else. Yeah, and I can't remember which video I said it in, but I'll say it again. Go back and listen to the songs you usually skipped on a record. Those are usually the ones that I end up liking the most. Right. The 90s was like it was almost like a turning point. Yeah. That's all. It was a change that I think, well, the music industry kind of needed. I think so, because I mean that's the point is they were going away from that because it was so homogenous at the time, the hair metal and the glam metal. I mean, we were all getting sick of it, you know. I mean, and I say we. I mean, I wasn't really there in the 80s for it, but it was still on MTV, and you still saw it. Was a very oversaturated market. Yeah, and then you this stuff come out, and at first you're kind of off put by it. You're just kind of like, what's going on here, you know, and you're not sure of it, but then the more you hear it and the more you see that they have to offer, the more you're like, okay, and you kind of embrace it then because it's something new and it's something different. Well, I remember when I was a real little kid, you couldn't get in the car without hearing Shine or Bull of Butterfly Wings or Plush or, you know. All over the place. Kenny Wayne Shepherd was on. It was good. And like, I feel like it was a really good soundtrack for the time. Like I know that's kind of maybe a dumb thing to say because no shit, because that's when it came out, but it just fit. I don't know. I feel like it fit for the age group that they were targeting, which would be slightly older than me. I think it was very effective. You know, I mean, just a disillusioned group of people, the younger Gen Xers that were coming up at the time. I think that spoke to them, along with like, you know, straight alternative bands like REM and a few of the others. But I think, too, really this kind of stuff resonates to the older millennials like me, or I think in your case, too. And, you know, because, I mean, they're talking about a lot of things that we still face today in at least amongst our generation. I'm really not so well-versed with the Gen Y and everything, but I think that's why this still is so popular now, is just because there's so many of us still listening to this. So. Yeah. And like I said, you can hear it in a lot of music that's out now. If you just listen, like that's the point of music. Like just listen to it, you know. That's why it's there. Listen to it, and you'll if you pay attention, you'll hear it. You'll hear STP and like I said, you'll hear it in Creed. You'll hear it in Godsmack. You'll hear it in all these, you know, newer radio rock bands. Right. I was really happy to listen to this. I'm glad that you picked it. That was a good one. Yeah. Because this is definitely something that's going to go in my catalog of, you know, shit that I missed out on for the last fucking, what is this, 92 this came out, so the last 30 years, of my life. like I said, I've listened to them a bunch, but I never really listened to them. And that's why we're doing this. Yeah, and same here. I mean, I've heard this album an awful lot in my life. Just, I was one of those where forgot it was Stone Temple Pilots, forgot what the name of the song was, forgot that this song was something that was there on this album. So, you know, I mean, just listening to it back again, it's like, to me, it was a trip down memory lane, like, oh yeah, that's right, you know, I was here when this happened, you know. And so I mean, I anytime I can listen to something from back then, I love it. So yeah, it was a fun one. I'm really glad. So yeah, we're gonna learn our songs for. I've already started learning mine. I'm pretty much done with it. This song. Yeah, so I mean, I've got mine learned pretty much. I just got to do the bass line. Yeah, I'm doing Cracker Man. He's learning Wicked Garden. So we should have those out by next week. Oh yeah, like I said, just got to record it, and then I'm done. Yeah. So and then we'll do our pick. I think I've already decided. I think we're doing Red Sun Rising next. Okay. I think that would be a good. Follow up to this. I really do. So. Yeah, because I mean, you got something that was period from period
Yeah.
to something that's, got heavy influence from that period. So
Yeah.
I think it'd be a really cool segue.
Yeah, so I think, we'll do Red Sun Rising, Polyester Zeal next.
Okay.
I know this is a little out of order, but I
Hey.
think that's how we're going to do it.
I'm excited, man. Like we said earlier, I really enjoyed that album when it came out and listened to it constantly. So, and I haven't heard it in a while, like probably the last couple years. So I'm really excited to hear it again.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, I guess we'll see you next week when we learn our songs, and we'll talk about it some more after that and see if we learned anything. Like I said, they're pretty easy. So
yeah.
But thanks for watching, and I guess we'll see you next time.
All right, see you next time.